Hello and welcome to the Dale Dialogue. I am Pallavi Jha, the Managing Director of Dale Carnegie India, and it's my pleasure to introduce the very first episode of the Dale Dialogue. When we conceived the Dale Dialogue, we said we wanted to actually engage with experts and achievers in their own field. Just a conversation to know what's on their mind, what they are looking forward to, any insights that they can share with us, and any words of wisdom that we can take away. And today, for our very first episode, we have a very interesting personality. He brings with him a background in a variety of industries like software, technology, and of course, the longest stay being in the pharma sector. So we're very keen to understand really what's going on in the pharma sector. This is our very first guest on the Dale Dialogue, Sanjay Srivastav, the HR director of Boehringer Ingelheim, a very big German pharma major.
Well, first of all, Pallavi, thanks for inviting me to this session. Happy to be here. I think I would like to quote here somebody who said that there are decades when nothing happens, and there are weeks when a decade happens. So probably that's what we are going through right now. I think the first 100 days of the COVID situation is already gone by. What we are seeing from a pharma perspective is the initial projection of growth was about 10.5%, and we are seeing that it will be difficult for organizations to kind of sustain that growth. Already, I think 60 to 70% drop is expected there. So that's what is happening. I think pharma is much better placed because it's also part of your, the daily needs, so to say, in terms of the medicines that you buy, the hospitalization and all that. So pharma is kind of, kind of geared up to this. But yeah, COVID is kind of creating its own crisis. I think, now we know that COVID is going to stay with us. So we are now looking at how do we look at more from a future orientation, from a forward-looking perspective.
I know a lot has been said about the pandemic already, and we don't want to look backwards, we want to look forwards. In a way, one would think that in a health crisis, the pharma sector would be really doing very well. Would you think that would be a right assumption to make? What are your, what is the outlook for the pharma sector over the next 6 to 12 months? And where do you see the biggest people opportunities and people challenges for yourselves?
I think if I look at the pharma sector, there is a 2020 budget that everybody is kind of looking at, which is going for a toss right now, maintain some kind of a growth in terms of our projection for 2020 and even going forward. But there'll be pressures in terms of cost. How do we manage cost? How do we manage our numbers, the top line and bottom line? It's going to be a challenge. It's not going to be.
And therefore, in a crisis, they say in an organization, it's the HR that becomes the first respondents, that HR plays a most critical role. So what do you think would be your biggest challenges or opportunities going forward in this situation?
I would say this is a huge opportunity for HR to lead from the front. If you look at 2008 crisis, it was the CEOs and CFOs leading through the financial crisis. But I think it's more about how do we, as HR, people, we manage this change. I think a couple of things are happening here in terms of, if I look at, there is a huge opportunity if we look at the crisis kind of has brought in. And if you look at the entire talent landscape, that has kind of, it's kind of evolved. So you can pretty much, there are no more constraints of, people working in different cities, or, if there are women who are, can only work part-time, or they need flexibility. So that gives us a huge opportunity to look at, the talent landscape, first of all. And it's a matter of choice also, because we are, the very important word that we are dealing with right now is about flexibility. how do we provide flexibility in terms of work to our people? And gone are the days where you are kind of micromanaging or kind of doing a sign in and sign out. But we are living in a age in a current situation where we'll have to go by trust and really empowering our people. So there's a lot of learning for the people managers that they need to pick up. It's about working from home, remote working. How do we lead with empathy? How do we lead with trust? I think one of the critical element of this is about well-being and safety of employees. So that's the primary concern. If you see that when the COVID happened in India in March, late March, we were the first company in pharma to kind of start work from home, and we are still the sales force and also people in the head office, we are still working from home. We have not kind of gone back to work yet. And I think it's the digital maturity curve that really kind of helps organization to kind of engage with customer and drive performance.
Those words, trust, empathy, and being flexible, I think those are very critical and very interesting and relevant in times of the remote work environment today. But speaking of remote work environment, I'm really curious to know, how do you sell in such a situation? Traditionally, pharma companies usually had armies of people on the streets doing their sales. So in a remote environment, what is that for you?
I think in the remote environment, we are still able to connect, with our customers, and I think content is really becoming important. We are using different ways of, digitally connecting, and engaging our customers. Content is becoming the king. Platforms are becoming very important, and so that's how we are able to kind of really talk to our customers and engage with them. And that's where I was talking about the digital maturity curve, where what we did last year was we embarked on a journey of people strategy, and one of the pillar was of customer centricity. So we said that how do we really move towards digital, and I think what we did last year is really kind of paying us off now.
Right. Do you find it challenging that in a country like India, with our infrastructure, you would find it difficult to progress on your digital maturity journey? Are there any particular skill sets you think that will become absolutely de rigueur or important for people to master in this new environment? Or do you feel there were certain skills that you valued in the earlier environment that are no longer relevant? What do you think, purely from a talent perspective, would be important for people to be effective and successful?
That's a good question. I think relationships still continue, whether you do it face to face or
Always.
you do it digitally, and that's one of the primary driver. Having that empathy, being able to have a conversation, and I'm talking about sales here right now. Critical thinking, using data and insight still remains an important factor. I think influencing, how do you influence your customers and build that connect through conversational intelligence really is also important. I think what's kind of really getting more and more in focus is the digital dexterity that we are expecting from employees, and a mindset to say that okay, this is possible. There is a new world, and we will kind of experiment and be open. Because when initially this started, we said okay, we don't know how to deal with problems, but I think every organization has kind of collaborated internally and then looked at what are the solutions to go forward. So I think in terms of skills, I think digital dexterity is something that is, and an open mindset is something that's really important. That yeah, there is a solution. We just need to find answers to those problems.
Things are continuously looking negative. You know, you're hearing on the media a lot of negative news all the time, whether it's about COVID-19, whether it's about the economy, whether it's about the suffering generally. How do you keep people from feeling down and anxious? What can companies do to work with people who are feeling stressed and insecure in such a time like?
Yeah. I think there's a lot of news going on, and what we have done is, and that creates a sense of panic in employees and their families. One important thing is we have handled that through over communication. I would say constantly being in touch with employees through open house or town hall, you call it, or one-on-one. Leaders have just not looked at the hierarchy and broken the barriers and gone and spoken to even down the line and to all the employees and team members, and given them that psychological safety that okay, we are there, the organization is behind you, we are really concerned about employees safety and well-being, and we will kind of take care of in the eventuality anything happens, due to corona or something, the organization is standing behind you and will extend all help that's needed. So that has kind of really helped, and employees, that has helped us to create a sense of belonging to the purpose, to the organization, and that's really helping us in this journey.
Right, right. I mean, there is a Dale Carnegie research on both agility and resilience, a very recent research we did globally in February of 2020 itself. And that pretty much says that, there is no option. We are going to be living in a world of continuous disruption. So currently we have coronavirus, and then we will have another one the moment we overcome this. So this continuous supply, in a sense, of uncertainties is really what we have to deal with continuously, and therefore agility to pivot to that new reality, to overcome the resilience to overcome that uncertainty is going to be very, very critical. And the only way to overcome that is really to provide trust, create trust rather, and build exactly what you said, build confidence and over communicate, and have a very, very solid sense of purpose articulated so that everybody can rally around one common direction. And so do you think that there is a lot of talk today where, everybody was saying that work from home and remote working is going to be a way of life, and that a lot of companies are going to make this a permanent change, in a sense, in the way they work? And do you think that in a world of remote culture, a remote environment, there would be a challenge to build a common organizational culture? I mean, how do you build a culture when people don't spend time together really, or new people who come in? How do they get a sense of what the organizations are about? So, what would you, as an HR specialist, advise to other peers in your place on building a common organizational culture in a remote working environment?
The sense of purpose, the compelling sense of purpose has to kind of really bind the organization together, the employees together. Right now, if you see what's happening is a lot of employees, the productivity has gone up because, you are working from home, you have meetings to attend, you have things to do. And we generally don't plan our break times, right? Going out for tea, coffee. So that part of, being connected with others, sharing, talking, that's kind of is missing right now. The social factor, I think that's also important. So we need to kind of build that, and I think that can be done through creating that safety net, which I was talking about, where we don't know how people are working, but we have that trust that people will do. Rather than focusing on the process, we are focusing on results. Recently we were talking to in one of our town halls, we were talking to employees, and some of the women employees said that we have to manage both home and work, and home means we'll have to cook. And it's not just cooking, you have all other things to do. Apart from cooking, we have to take care of the child. And so we are talking about flexibility here, where if you look at time and the value creation, we are talking about today, we are talking about tomorrow, but we hardly talk about day after tomorrow. So talking about today is all the emails and all the meetings that you will do. Talking about tomorrow is about the 2020 budget that we are looking at, and day after, which will kind of create the maximum value, for your business. And if you typically look at people, as we say that we should do 70-20-10 in terms of how we should distribute our time, but I think organizations are still doing 93-7 and 0 to day after tomorrow. But that's kind of changing, because we know that there's a fluid environment and we need to deal with this.
Yeah.
So people have started thinking about day after tomorrow.
Day after tomorrow has really become day after tomorrow. The planning cycles are shrinking. People are moving to a quarter to quarter situation today. And I think long term has literally become 1 year, a maximum 2 or 3 years, when people are still not sure about their second and third year. So that's wonderful. There are a lot of young B Farm graduates or M Farm graduates that you might be hiring regularly, and it's a different world for them. They were possibly looking at starting their careers on a high with organizations like yours. And what would you like to say to them? Because it's not easy to be a graduate and find yourself in a work or a lack of work situation that possibly is really is the reality around us. So what would be your advice to them?
I would say two things. Believe in yourself and be yourself, because these kind of crises will come in different magnitude. And if we have that confidence, if we build on our skills, I think we should be able to sail through. There'll be new skills to learn, new organizations that we look at. So I think we'll get there.
Sanjay, I was looking into one of your interviews and I realized you're a big Bollywood fan, right? So can you tell me which movie comes to your mind right now that would be a great inspiration for tiding over a crisis like this, or a big message at this time?
I think from a Hollywood movie, I can think of Matrix.
I have one last question, and it's a very important question to all of us. You're familiar with the fact that Dale Carnegie's classic How to Win Friends, Influence People actually elucidated the very famous Dale Carnegie human relations principles. There's something very close to our hearts, as they've lasted for over 100 years. Which one of these principles do you resonate with the most? Which is your favorite Dale Carnegie principle, and why?
I think the one I really liked and very close to my heart is listening and talking about others' area of interest. So this and listening comes to me naturally. So whenever I meet new people, I try to understand what their interests are, what their hobbies are, what their life journey has been.
Like you started the conversation saying that relationships are central and important things, and there are so many wonderful ways to strike new relationships as well as nurture them. And we feel very proud at Dale Carnegie to be part of an organization that helps people build relationships, even more important today in the world of social distancing. On that note, thank you very much, Sanjay, for being part of this Dale Dialogue, and we look forward to more interactions. Thank you, everybody.